Oh, 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 you doing it? Nah. Oh, you were close. You were close. I'll give you that. I will give you that. Kentucky, you guys were really, really close this time. But unfortunately for you, the end result remains the same. The Volunteers win, and that's all there is to it. All right, Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, woo! Rocky Top, Tennessee. All right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Enough of that. Enough of that. All right. Shout out to Kentucky. It's a really close game. You guys gave it your all. And it's always been that way for the last 3 times we've been up to Neyland North. I mean, Lexington. It's been that way. And so shout out to you guys. You gave it your all. But I guess just there was a talent gap. Okay, no, seriously, it was a really good game, but Tennessee came out on top. Sloppy game for us, but pretty good game by Kentucky. So don't be too hurt, fans. Good luck the rest of the season. Now that you've gotten past us, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. Okay, enough of that. Enough of that. I've talked about Kentucky. So the Vols win, obviously. 33-27, the final score. Vols get away with it by 6 points. Extremely sloppy game on both sides of the ball by Tennessee. Just an outright, just sloppy performance overall. Bad coaching, bad officiating, per the norm, I know. But shocking revelation right there. They aren't even trying to hide it anymore. It's like the blind hobo thing I said a couple of weeks ago about these officials, I think that's actually true. I'm pretty sure they've pulled these guys straight from downtown Knoxville. They're sitting on their sideline looking like zombies, high on about 17 different drugs. They pull him in. Oh, man, this guy looks like he can definitely officiate a high-level college football game. And they run him on in, and then, yeah. You get the idea. The officiating was god-awful. And I'm not saying that just because, I'm not saying they're leaning towards Tennessee. Obviously, that's not the case. They aren't biased towards Tennessee. They don't pay the refs to, ruin Tennessee's season. If they did, the only reason they do that is if Tennessee were still undefeated and we're not. So, yeah, no. No, it's just terrible officials who don't know what in the world they're doing. That's just all there is to that. So, officials is not the reason we looked as terrible as we did today. It's exactly like the Alabama game. It's all a lingering issue that I think needs to be discussed. Okay, before that, I do want to say one thing, and I think every Tennessee fan can agree with me on this. Dylan Sampson is the friggin' GOAT. Friggin' G.O.A.T. GOAT. He is an absolute unit. Dylan Sampson was a one-man machine in this matchup, and he was the reason why we run. Literally, what Tennessee should have done throughout the entirety of the game is just put Dylan Sampson up on the field and up against 11 Kentucky defenders. And no matter what they did, it was just Dylan Sampson versus Kentucky. That was the game, and Dylan Sampson won. Dylan Sampson was the winner of the matchup versus Kentucky. So, and he wasn't even the best running back. He was the best running back in this game, but Jalen Wright had a really good performance too. I'm not sure where Jabari Small was, but another great game by the running backs. Tennessee running backs, at least for the foreseeable future, this year, next year, and probably the year after that, Tennessee will be absolutely fine on running backs. That will that will never be a concern for Tennessee, at least throughout the next 2-3 years. We do not have to worry about running backs. So, shout out to Dylan Sampson, absolute unit, had a phenomenal game. There's literally nothing bad I've said about Dylan Sampson all season long because he's played like an absolute unit, and that retains today. So shout out to him, and shout out to the running backs. They just had a phenomenal game today and pretty much kept us in it because, the offense other than them was just a complete and utter failure. So we'll get into that, and first I want to get into the defense. Usually the defense has been kind of our de facto savior in some of these games. They saved us against South Carolina, saved us against Texas A&M, at least, kept Alabama away for about 2 quarters until they couldn't. But in this game, God, were they awful. They were just outright horrendous. I'm not sure. Of course, we lost Kamal Haddon, and that is a detrimental loss. Kamal Haddon was a really good corner, probably one of our best corners, if not our best corner on the team, so losing him was a detrimental loss. But I didn't know that we'd go from one of the upper echelon defenses in the SEC to USC's defense. I didn't know that it was going to be that big of a change, but I guess one player can do that? I don't know. Can one player make your defense go from, being really good to just unrecognizably terrible? I don't know. They looked normal on first down and second down, but you know the drill. Third and banks. I don't understand why on third down we just can't friggin' stop anybody. It's the exact same problem every single time one of these quarterbacks steps up on third down. So it doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 10, 3rd in a friggin' different planet. The same exact result happens. They convert on third down no matter what end result it is. The only times that they don't convert on third down is due to Kentucky's own incompetence. It's not because we did anything right. I don't know why. I guess the only way you can think about it is think of it this way. You know in NCAA 14, the prevent defense, everybody's got their own little bubble. Every single defender in the backfield has a little bubble they stay in, and they don't move away from the bubble. And that's how prevent defense works. I'm sure you guys know that by now. At least most of you do. If you don't, well, now you know. Anyway, most of what prevent defense is to prevent a player like a big wide receiver going all the way down the field and catching a 70-yard touchdown. That's fine if you want to play like that for a majority of the game, but the style that Tim Banks plays is you do that eternally. That eternal prevent defense. And not only just prevent defense, but prevent defense that keeps everything in front of you, and, they get the first down anyway. So it's a lot like this. You prevent them from getting a big touchdown, but you let them get a touchdown anyway. The only difference is it takes them 2 minutes to do it and not 10 seconds. That's the only difference that I've seen out of this Tennessee defense as compared to USC's. And usually it's not like that. Usually we're able to shut them down. The defense forces pressure, and they didn't force pressure today. Devin Leary had all friggin' night to throw. He was sitting there in the backfield for hours on, just going. It was like watching him going through his notes. He was like, boy, my biology notes. Let's see here. What is a polar covalent bond? All right, let me figure this out. Like he was just doing that the entire time because he was in the friggin' backfield for as long as they let him stay there, which was the entire friggin' game. So, okay, I'm getting on kind of a tangent, but you see my point here. The defense had a really sloppy game, and usually they're ace in the hole, and they help us escape some of these bigger games, but today they let me down. And thankfully we still came out on top because of it. Sloppy game, like I said. Now the offense. Got to talk about the offense too. And it's gotten to a point now to where you watch this Tennessee offense, and every time the defense gets off the field, it's like, here comes Tennessee's offense again. And you just got to sit there and suffer for another 5 minutes or 1 minute, however long they're stepping out on the field. And that felt like a lot of what I witnessed today. Now, we had a few great drives, mostly due to Dylan Sampson making big runs. But Joe Milton actually had a few key plays. And he actually made a few, he had a big touchdown in the second quarter. Deep throw to... who was it? Squirrel? Somebody was down there. No, I take it back. No, it was Chaz Nimrod. His first touchdown catch of his career. So shout out to Chaz Nimrod. But other than that, it's just more of the same. And it's just like I said in my halftime video, and I told you guys this in my halftime video, the Tennessee Vols weren't going to make any adjustments. They just weren't. There was no point in me even talking about all the adjustments we should have made going into the second half, because they weren't. They're a one-trick pony on offense, and that's just the way it is. You run the ball up the middle 3 times with maybe a quarterback run up the middle, maybe Dylan Sampson, maybe Jalen Wright, but somebody's running up the friggin' middle, or it's going to be a dump-off screen to the outside. And I talked a little bit about that stupid, the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. That pitch play, the delayed pitch, where Joe Milton hands it off to the running back, but then takes it back, lines up to throw, waits a minute, and then dumps it off to Jalen Wright. And both times, loss of at least 3 yards. And they were both on critical third downs, too. So, just absolute sheer incompetence on offense. I don't understand why they continue to let this happen. I mean, this is why I'm starting to really doubt the coaching at Tennessee right now, because no decent offensive mind would look at the productivity on the field besides Dylan Sampson and say, boy, that is some real good offense right there. There just doesn't exist. And so I don't understand how Josh Heupel can be watching this happen and then saying, yep, nope, this is completely fine to me. But that's what he's doing every week. Every week this is happening. I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around this. Just doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. Every week the exact same problems. And look, Joe Milton isn't the best. He's not Tim Tebow. He's not the friggin' best quarterback in the SEC. He's not the best quarterback in the nation. Far, far, far from it. I've talked about how I don't think Joe Milton's the answer, and I don't think, he makes bad decisions with the ball, and there's a lot of times where he overthrows receivers and all of that. It's the exact same problems we've been dealing with ever since he got to Tennessee. We know what to expect from Joe, and I'm sure the coaches do by now, but not trusting him, not letting him throw the ball, not letting him even do anything other than a quarterback run up the middle is not going to cut it. It's just not. We got lucky against Kentucky, just like we did against Texas A&M and South Carolina. The running backs and the defense bailed us out in those games. We got Mizzou on the road, who's got a pretty good offense. And I don't even want to talk about the game after that. I don't. But you want to know what comes before both of those games? UConn at home. It's a homecoming game. There is no reason, zero reason, that going into that game, that Nico should not be the starter. Or better yet, any other quarterback other than Joe. And that's not a Joe problem. That's not me saying, oh, Joe Milton's the center of all of our issues at Tennessee. Everything will be fixed if Joe's got... No, of course not. That's a stupid thing for me to say. Joe wasn't even the reason why we lost today. Or we didn't even lose today. I'm speaking as if we did lose. Good grief. That tells you how lucky we were today. But anyway... Joe wasn't even the reason why we struggled as bad as we did. It was mainly play calling. The exact same problems. Play calling, just we relied so heavily on the run, we might as well have just trotted out Dylan Sampson out there as one man and let him battle it out against the other 11 on the other team and see how that goes. That's how that should have been, because they didn't let him do anything else, and especially in the fourth quarter, I think I can count on my finger, this just one hand, how many times we actually threw the ball. We were so heavily reliant on the run, and they were so distrustworthy of Joe that they could not let him do anything. They just absolutely would not let him throw the ball. They were so scared that he would make a mistake. And if we're just going to completely throw the passing game away, we might as well just switch to a Paul Johnson Georgia Tech offense from 2015 or whatever the hell. Just a triple option and then just hope for the best, because you cannot, in this stage of college football, completely disregarding the pass is not gonna friggin' cut it. It's not. So we've got to make a change. And next week is the perfect time to do it. It's a homecoming game. We'll have plenty of time to work out our kinks, whatever the issues may be. But I don't know. We may be worse off that we won. In the long term, of course, I'm happy that we won against Kentucky today. But in the long term, this might be bad for us. Because there was already a low chance that, things are going to change and, we're going to start a new quarterback next week. There was already a pretty low chance that was going to happen. But now that we've won the game, it's down to zero. I doubt anything changes next week. I'm sure we're going to come out with the exact same offense, ride the struggle bus against UConn for a few quarters, waltz into the Mizzou game, and then pray and hope that our running backs just find wide open holes and probably force 25 different false start penalties while we're at it. I don't. You can't keep this up forever. You can't. And I know we're not going to keep this up forever. Next year we're actually going to have, we're going to have Nico, and hopefully the quarterbacks will trust, or the coaches will trust him to be the starting quarterback. Hopefully then, our offense will start clicking on all cylinders like it did last year, but it's just not, man. It's just, it proved that Josh Heupel's offense is not just some type of plug-and-play system where you can just come in as any just standard quarterback and then just do whatever. No. That's not going to work. And just sad, man. Just sad. Got to get it together, man. You got to make adjustments. Next week's your final chance. If you don't do anything after that, you're pretty much selling whatever's left of the season. That's just the case. This isn't going to work against Mizzou, and especially not Georgia. And, we're already out of playoff contention and probably SEC East contention because Georgia won today, and I don't see them losing 2 SEC games, one of them being to us. I just don't see that happening. So, something's got to change, though. This can't continue. I feel like I've wrapped this up enough. You guys get the idea. Hopefully something changes next week. I love our team. I'm a Vol till I am a hardcore volunteer until I die. And that's how it'll always be. I am a hardcore Tennessee Volunteers fan. I give my all for Tennessee each and every friggin' week. I love this team and I love this program, and that's all there is to it. But when things are wrong and when things don't look right and we continue to just lay down and let things run, it's just eventually someone has to answer for this. So that's just my case on it. And look, me saying that Joe shouldn't be the starting quarterback is not me saying I hate Joe Milton and he's a terrible quarterback. He may be a terrible quarterback, but he's not a terrible person. I'm sure Joe Milton's a great guy in person, and I'm sure me and him would get along really, really well. I just don't think he has it mentally in the head when it comes to being the starting quarterback. He just doesn't have the decision making. Anyway, I've kind of gone off on a full tangent here. We're 17 minutes into this video. Shout out to the Vols, man. We won another game, but hopefully hopefully our offense will start clicking next week. I feel like I've summed that up pretty well. KFC, good try. I'll give it to you. Good try. You were that close. You're that close, but we retain our lease on Neyland North. We'll see you guys 2 years from now when we play you up there again. We'll see how that goes. A lot of great games. Well, I say a lot of great games. There weren't a lot of great games, but a lot of great results today. I'll have plenty of time to talk about that tomorrow or Monday on the Vol Star podcast. So, yeah. All right. That's all I have to say. Thank you guys again for watching. And that's all there is to it. Go Vols, baby. And UConn, you're up next on the chopping block. We're coming for revenge because of what happened to the Lady Vols last year. We remember. And I know, Squidtard don't want no basketball. Squidtard, you don't even want no basketball. Why do you care? Listen, I told you. I love my Vols, and I'm going to represent my Vols. That's just the way it is.